All right. Thanks everyone for showing up. I know this is the last training of the year, and I can't thank you enough for jumping in. And I think you'll be excited. This is a two-part series. This is part two of two. So if you missed last week and you need a reporting of Mr. Jeff Tabor from Columbus talking about the products, you missed out on some really cool things. We were really talking about the value proposition, what they bring to the table. It's a very plain vanilla product, but in this industry, plain vanilla is actually a good thing, given the fact that a lot of companies are coming out with multipliers, select indexes that are for only one carrier. You'll find that Columbus keeps it simple, keeps it clean, and we want to, see how we can diversify our practice. It's not always about showing one carrier. And I tell people all the time, I got 10 1099s last year, and I was only independent for half the year because of different cases for different clients and different situations. You have to understand one carrier might not be the best for everything. And so as we diversified, I came across Columbus, got to meet Jeff, ironically. For those who don't know, I met Jeff when I was still an RVP for AIG. And about 2 weeks later, I quit, or a month later. And then we go and have breakfast at First Watch with another business partner, and he did a double take. So it was still one of the funniest things. But some of the highlights of what we talked about last week, I won't steal too much of Jeff's thunder, but their IUL is a great story. It's got PDA, premium deposit account, not a personal, or what is it, public display of affection. It's a premium deposit account. You have an early cash value rider where you're not getting paid over 5 years commission like you would with other carriers that have early cash value riders. And also on top of that, they have a DCA, dollar cost averaging. So if you put in a annual premium or your PDA premium, your single pay premium that gets paid out over 10 years, that can even get the monthly allocations to diversify your buckets. So uh, that's huge when it comes to what we're talking about in the market. You don't really see that. Some carriers have one, not the other, two, but not the early cash value rider or whatnot. So there's a lot of extra things here that really make Columbus a good story to have. The three table shaves from the underwriting standpoint as well. So if you have someone who is, let's say, well insulated, and they need to get a better risk class, like standard non-tobacco, they take C, B, and A and shave them up to standard, so your clients can get a better offer than maybe they got somewhere else. Which some of my uh, Eastern descent people like to have a touch of the sugar. And so when you think about that, diabetics, where you could potentially get a standard where other carriers might have given them substandard, is a good story. So wanted to recap a little bit. I'll let Jeff steal the rest of the show here and show you how to illustrate this product, have the conversation with people. I would say, Jeff, I know you're going to do it, but if I'd be remiss to say, please go over where they can see the living benefits as well and how
Okay,
that looks in the illustration.
certainly.
Because as you know, the illustration is so vital. When we talk to people, it's not everything, but to have that clear understanding will make it easier for us to get that $15,000 uh, bogey in the first quarter and give them that all expense paid trip to see your home office. So extended intro, apologies, but Jeff, please feel free to take it away.
Well, thanks, Phil. I appreciate that. And I'm glad you did a recap. I was going to touch on a couple of things. And so I will go through those quick just to give folks the visual along with what you described. So bear with. As Phil said, we try to keep it simple. We don't, it's a complicated product, but we go under the guise, easy to understand, easy to sell. the sort of interesting sort of dynamic of the day and trying to make my illustration look better than the next guy, this competitive thing. You know, if you're on the golf course, it's who's got the latest equipment, best club, best this. If you're at the racetrack, it's, you know, who's got the best, you know, turbo, ice down, double insulated, cooled. You know, he's looking for an angle, and that's exactly what's going on in the illustration world that we all are in. There's some great illustrations showing 11% all the way out. The challenge is only 2 companies. Think about this. Of all the companies that are out there, there's only 2 companies that don't do this, drop the rate after a few years and give you a lower renewal rate. It's us and Mutual of Omaha. So what that means is, you know, we want hot and sexy. I mean, that's just kind of how we're built. We don't want someone coming in behind us. We want to sell the best. We want to take care of our clients. But in reality, you know, time you drop the rate, you're down here. And so what you've done in effect, and not that 30 is horrible, we're at 34. It's just, this is not realistic. This is, and especially when they know they're going to drop the rate. So this is the thing that's key for us. We link the rate. So with 10% is our cap, 10% is what we're issuing on or what we're sending out for our 15-year-old IUL policy. So that's part of it. I was going to skip down and then touch on, when we wrap, I'll come back to compensation and different things like that. But for now, what I'm going to do is jump to how to actually run one of these things. So let's do that now. The feedback I get often from producers is, you know, once I got through it, it is pretty easy. In fact, it's cleaner and easier than some of the other ones that I'm running. And bear with me while I look for the screen. It should be there. Let's go here. Okay.
We're looking for that, Jeff. I'll just kind of mention too, we can illustrate Columbus both on their portal site, which he's pulling up right now. We can also get it on WinFlex. But when we submit the business, in order for 3Mark to see and manage the cases, we would submit the business on IGO on 3Mark site. I have a Zoom about that. And I can share that with you guys too, or a YouTube video on how to submit your business. But we'll dive in here, and Juan, if we have time at the end, you know, and if Jeff doesn't have it, I can illustrate it on WinFlex, no problem. So we'll get that.
Yeah, it would probably take your expertise. I don't have it. So we can, yeah, I'll leave some room. We'll run through this. I don't want to take a bunch of your time going through tedious, how do I run an illustration? You guys are professionals. You're sort of knowledgeable and intuitive. You can work your way through this, especially once you see it a time or two. It's fairly straightforward. So we go to write illustrations. We go to the illustration, and as Phil said, it pops up as launch the web version. Off we go. So what I'm going to do is just work through a basic LERP illustration in showing you how to do that. You click on it. I want to add a client. We go test. You can spell. I'm just going to pick an average age. And when you run yours, you'll have the right product lined up. But because I'm attached to the home office, I've got a host of products. So that's how that will look. So here's the main screen you will operate from. Writers, cash flow, values, everything will come right off this page. The action key, I want to preview the illustration. I want to run a new illustration. I want to copy this and make some changes. So pretty straightforward stuff. So we'll just work our way from top to bottom. We're going to change this to preferred. We're going to take, and to do a LERP, we want the minimum face amount. Option 2 is always better when you're putting cash in. It helps keep the face amount low and the corridor small. So we're going to pay this out to 65 and then switch to option 1. When we stop paying premiums, I'm just going to pick a number here, put $1,000 into 65. At this point, I'm done. I've done everything that I need to do to show a basic illustration. One last piece, one last step is to hit the big blue button here that says, give me the max cash flow. So we'll click on this, and what that will do is show a box down here that we're going to have income 65 to 85. That's it. Pretty straightforward stuff. Now we can go over to here and click and see a previewed illustration, but just to move through this a little faster, I'm going to jump to values. It calculates faster. At the end, we'll jump to the illustration, and I'll show you what Phil mentioned, which was the no, I already know what I did wrong. I did annual. I meant monthly. Here we go. I thought that face amount looked low. So $12,000 a year. Death benefit is already calculated to be the minimum non-MEC. Here's your target premium up here, and you scroll down and you get about a $60,000 income out tax-free, as you all know. All right, pretty good deal. So I'm just going to run you through a couple of quick tweaks. I just want to show you that you guys know this stuff, but when your clients don't. So I'm going to leave paying the premium to 65, but I'm going to delay taking money out to age 70. Maybe they're going to work for a little while longer. Maybe they're going to pull money out of their 401k to live on. So I'm going to still do the same 20 years, but I want you to see the impact of delaying 5 years taking your money out. You know, when you do a time value of money calculation, it's time, it's interest rate, and it's how much money is. Everybody gets focused on rate of return. They don't think about time, but time's huge. The other one they don't think about is how much money you put in. So there's a couple of different ways to go at this, but all we did was extend the time. And look, I went from $60,000 to $80,000 by waiting 5 years. That's a pretty cool thing, pretty straightforward. In some ways, I would almost always show both of these illustrations to a client because it helps them understand the dynamics of the policy and how it functions. It's sort of a training aid, if you will. I get sometimes you don't want to show them too much. There's a way to simplify this illustration so you're not printing out 30 pages at a time. But let's go back to the detail page, and I'll just do one more tweak to show you again this. I think it's a selling tool. I think it's a training thing. I think it helps clients. So I said time, interest rate, and money. Well, the market's going to be what the market's going to be. The interest rate's going to be what the interest rate's going to be. And we're locked in based on AG 49 what we can run. So that stays the same. We just extended the time. Now we're going to put in a little more money. Why would I put a little more money in? Well, I have this, I don't know. If I ever stopped working, I think I would become an evangelist and I'd run around the country telling people this. Running illustrations this way is almost deceptive in some ways. And they've been done this way my entire career. How much money can you afford to put aside comfortably? $1,000 a month. Okay. 40-year-old, this assumes, and you're going to run it to age 65, assuming they're never going to get a better job. They're never going to get a pay raise. They're never going to want to put more money aside for themselves. And they're never going to want to get more focused on retirement. So again, the client's in control. This is a way to demonstrate what would happen if, and there's multiple ways you can run this. So at 45, on their birthday, we're gonna bump this to 50. Okay, cool. At 50, we'll take it up to 1,500. And I'll talk you through this once we get to the other side, what this does, how you talk through this with the client. So, all right, now they're getting close to the retirement, and they're getting serious. So we're going to jump at a whole right? And then one last tweak, the last 5 years, let's just say they go up to 2,500. Again, this is money they're gonna take right back out at some point. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Come on, Taylor. Focus. Okay. Clients in control, they can change these numbers at any time. You're just showing them, in addition to waiting 5 years, what if over time you wanted to put more money in this thing, what would it look like? So you throw that in there. The computer's still going to calculate the difference in the face amount because now I've thrown more money in and I'm trying to protect it from being a mech. And so we started at about 60,000, we jumped to 80,000, and now we're at 115. And my target, I think, was around 3,300. It's now 5,300. So I just gave myself a pay raise. I gave the client a pay raise. And all I did was illustrate putting in a little more money over time. Now you can change this. I've done the same thing with a 35-year-old doing $300 a month. And then every 5 years, bumping it $100. So don't get fixated on, I threw $1,000 and grew it. I've done $10,000 premiums a month, and I've done $300 premiums a month. It works the same. It has the same dynamic. It has the same impact. And based on where your client's frame of reference is, it has the same, wow factor impact because it's going up at different, same proportionate depending on how much you put in. The nice thing about this is what you're telling your client is, A, this is how the policy works. B, what you're saying is, look, if you call me back 5 years from now and say, I've been watching this thing, it's really growing, it's doing nice, I'd like to put more money in. If I've run it at the mech level premium, you're going to have to tell them, I'm sorry, I can't do that because we kind of lowered the face amount to maximize the efficiency of the policy. And if you want to do this again, I've got to sell you a new policy and we start over now 5 years older. So one, they're 5 years older. Two, they may have a health issue and they don't have anywhere to go. So what you're doing is pre-selling these increases over time, underwriting at one time. So you're locking in their health at a young age and giving them upward mobility in terms of retirement. Again, the client's always in control. If they get down the road a ways and they find some gee whiz other thing that you want to take them, all you got to do is lower the face amount a bit and not increase the premium, and no harm, no foul. The client's happy. They've got a good, efficient policy. You've made a good sale. And I think this thing is really cool. And I've got a couple of pieces. Phil, don't let me forget to show you a slot piece, Ed slot piece that I have that is real powerful, and then a company brochure that's pretty good on the alert side. So let's pivot.
So, let me ask a real quick question before you move off of this. Well, first off, a comment. From this standpoint, what you can actually do is call that, I call it a buffered strategy. So you show someone the least, minimum face, no mech, but then you add in buffer or space because the strategic talking point is a lot like what Jeff illustrated was an increase over time. But logically speaking, why are we going to show that? And it's simply because statistics show that most people's peak earning years are mid to late 40s, early 50s, and then it stabilizes towards retirement. So if you're thinking about it, you're talking to a 40-year-old who's really starting to accelerate their retirement, but they just don't have enough to get to that 2,000 or 2,500 per month. We're setting it up so it's ready today versus later, and it gives the better value proposition for the consumer. And living benefits are higher too, and also for you as a producer, you get a little bit higher target premium, which, I mean, it is what it is, but it definitely helps, to say the least. Now, the question I have is in a prior life, we worked with clients who also suddenly became agents. So their person before them who sold them the policy sold them a higher face amount than minimum face no neck. How quickly with Columbus can you reduce the face amount, and does that impact your cash value like a surrender charge or anything like that when you do that?
It is typical. It's Universal Life 101. Requesting it in the time frame is pretty quick. I mean, it's not that big a deal. It can be treated as a partial surrender, so it could force out some cash. But if, as you pointed out, if I've created a buffer, then I'm just eliminating the buffer and potentially no cash comes out, and all I've done is make the policy more efficient.
So like year 2, year 3, or are
Yep.
we weighing like 5,
Yep.
7?
Nope. You can, whenever the client says, I don't think this is for me. I found something else. I'm going to put my extra money in. I'm going to keep it, but I don't want. Fine. Yeah. Anytime.
Okay. That's good to know. That's very good to know.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'll shut up.
No worries. So, as Phil suggested, one of the important things here is, this is a new feature for us. You see export values. You can export values. You can export the whole thing. This is, particularly if you're doing some particular fancy illustrations and you're showing this in conjunction with other stuff, particularly business cases or premium finance cases, you can export this data in a much cleaner fashion than you used to. That's a good thing. What we're going to do is just preview the illustration, and what this is going to pop up is the PDF that you could print and show your client. I'm going to show it to you for the sake of showing the how much is available for living benefits. So here's my premium starts at 1,000. Initial death benefit starts here. And you see the supplemental income cash value that's available. And then here are living benefits. And you can see that I'm close to $1 million.
The illustration's not showing.
Yep. Thank you. I know what I did. Bear with.
Yep.
See it now?
Voila. Yep.
Okay. My apologies. Yeah, when I switch screens, it shows this separate. So here's my $1,000 premium. Here's my death benefit.
They redid this, right?
What's that?
They redid this, right? This looks new.
Yes. This is almost brand new, maybe a few weeks old. So it's a cleaner look. And then here's my living benefits. Here's how much is available at 65 for chronic illness, practically $1 million. And just keeps growing from there. What's nice about the way our living benefits work is you get a percentage of the death benefit and you get 100% of the cash. So if you scroll all the way down to the very bottom, the last report, bear with me, it's coming up quickly. Here we go. So here's that 900 and almost $1 million chronic illness right there. This was put together. The reason you saw the pretty stuff up front is because this was put together by a CPA. I mean, this is painful to look at because it's got a lot of columns and it confuses people. But here's your cash surrender value. Here's your net amount at risk. Here's your death benefit. Pretty straightforward. There's 2 ways to get to chronic illness. If you don't have a lot of cash, this column is a different calculation and can be higher. If you do have a lot of cash, it tends to be the better one. So you can see right in here, they're in their 60s. They get into their 80s, and it can be a big chunk of cash that's available for chronic illness. No one needs that much money. Like long-term care, it's expensive. Trust me, mom's in a memory unit right now. It just went up for 24, so I get it, but she'd have to live to be 120 for me to get close to this kind of stuff. Here's your chronic illness numbers. Here's your terminal illness number. So, the reason I say this is you're showing a client says, yeah, we just put my mom in a nursing home when she was 82. How much money would I have? You can scroll down here and say, well, based on this, if all flows, about 2.5 million. I mean, it's a pretty powerful comment. And you don't have to take all that, of course. You could take a piece of it, and this thing continues to grow. So that's living benefits. Pretty straightforward approach. Let me go back to the illustration. And now we'll go back to the home section. And I want to show you the PDA piece. And I'm going to run it a couple of different ways. So bear with. I'm going to stair step it kind of like I did a while ago. And show you why it makes sense to use the PDA account, the premium deposit account, for big chunks of money. Client inherits some money, they sold a big piece of property, they've got some rollover that they've got to deal with, and they want to know what to do with it. We're going to show you a way to use it either for alert situation or a legacy planning situation. Two different sales, same concept. So I'm right back to where we were earlier. Same setup, same screen, same everything. So typically how we go about this is we go minimum premium. We're going to do alert. We're going to do option 2. And I heard somebody had one of these as an example, so I'm going to use it. So 41, we're only going to pay premiums for 1 year. So I want option 2, then option 1. I'm going to drop in 300,000. I'm going to again pay that just 1 year, and I'll show you what happens. This is the challenge that we have at trying to do single pays with the MEC limits and the guideline premium limits the government puts on these policies. I get truncated how much money I can put in because, and as you can see, this thing runs out of gas at about age 71 because I had a big premium, I had to buy a big death benefit, and I eventually ran out of money. So we have to go back, we have to rejigger the face amount. So we come and we go, okay, well, we need more than 2.5. How much do we need? I ran this earlier, so I kind of have an idea. It's 4.5 million. Now I should be able to get all 300,000 in here. Boom, I get all three. I got 4.7, but this thing may still be challenged. Yeah, it's going to run out of juice at the same time. So you see, this is the difficulty. Now I switch to CVAT, which is a calculation down here that is an actuarial test. That will help me some, but an easier thing to do is zero this out, come down here to premium deposit account, put in your 300,000, and it's 3 million, Tabor. There we go. Oh, come on.
What's the max on the PDA?
The biggest single premium that I can take without a phone call is 3 million.
Yeah.
Okay. Fingers are working. Now, just like anything else, the faster I can get the money in, the faster the policy, or the better the policy is going to grow. So the premium deposit account is required. You got to hold the money it's got to go in either somewhere between 4 and 10 years. The older the client gets, the longer it takes to get the money in there. But at 40, let's start at 4. And we'll look at let's go back to minimum. Glad I caught that. All right, so now we're going to go back here because again, we're looking for alert situation. And now I'm putting in my 300,000 in stages, a little at a time. I got my cash value growing. I got my face amount down to 1.2. And as you see, this thing has got at 65 $1 million of cash. Yay. So that's a good thing. So this is where this thing is a little tricky. There's not a sort of a solve feature that this thing is going to go figure out, well, is 4 years better than 5 years, better than 6 years? I know I ran it earlier. 5 years is the best. I ran it at 6. This should make that $1 million look a smidge better when you get to 6. It's stretching the money out too much and you're not getting as much growth. Yeah, so this is slightly better. Target stays the same because it's tied to the original face amount. And that's how this thing cooks, grows, and how it looks. So good. Let me look. There were some notes. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah. So now let's say, all right, that gives me $1 million of cash I can turn into cash flow at age 70, or almost 1.5 at age 70, $1 million. So now let's go back and let's say the client has this 300,000. They don't need it to live on. They don't need the income out of it, and they're charity minded, they're family minded, they're legacy minded. They're wanting they want to have an increase in face amount. So you come up here and you say calculate the face amount. Same idea. Premium deposit account 300,000. I'm going to put it in over 5 years, but I want the highest face amount I can get. I'm going to switch to option 1. And what this will do is tell me what's the max face amount. Now I'm at 2.4. So I took my same 300,000 and I asked the computer, what's the most I can buy and keep this thing in force to age 120? And that's 2.4. Now you see your target's gone way up. And all that what we're trying to do with this is say, I want to leave a legacy. I want to take grandpa's 300,000 and I want it to pay it forward to my kids and grandkids. And that's a real simple way to do it. Think about this. There's a lot of annuity money floating around out there. The worst transfer product for money not needed, moved to the next generation or some family member, is an annuity, because they're going to get hit with a big tax bill. Okay, yeah, they may get $1 million, but then a big chunk of it is going to be taxed because all that growth that took place. So here's another way to go at this. I'm going to go back.
Yeah, wait, real quick. What's the cash value at 65 on that one?
Let's look. About 700,000.
Yeah. So for those who are, thinking, oh, well, I'll just do a level, get a higher target at 37. You just butchered the client's cash value by about $300,000. So I would say just kind of err on the side of caution of doing what people call back in the day a level lerp. Because a lot of people, when they do level lerps, really more of a commission play for the agent to get a higher commission. And as you noticed here, the client just lost out on 300,000 in cash value for the exact same strategy. So, I always like to make sure, people are aware of that too.
No, Phil, that's a really good point, because a lot of times you walk through this with people that aren't not that familiar with life insurance, and the one thing that rings around in their head is somebody, some advisor somewhere, particularly some investment broker type, has said, well, life insurance bad, it has fees and yada yada, and you don't want to do that. And they see this and they go, yeah, life insurance, I knew there was a catch. You're going to make me buy life insurance. And what you say, and this is what this alert piece that I'll show you in a minute says, actually, Mr. and Mrs. Wiggins, I'm going to show you how to take the advantage of the life insurance tax benefits, but I'm actually going to sell you the least amount of death benefit I can. The government has a limit to how much death benefit is on a policy based on how much we put in. So I can't drop the face amount as low as you and I want, but I can run it as low as the government will let me. And that's where you ended up with that $1 million death benefit and that big cash. If that's what they're trying to do, then you say, so the point is the way the policy is designed, the way you design the policy, the way you sort of determine which is the client's focus. Is it cash? It's like I've said before, if you've got a pickup and a Porsche in the driveway and you're going to Lowe's, you don't take the Porsche typically, unless you're going for a small plumbing part. You take the pickup. Now, if you're trying to get across town an appointment really quick, you jump in the Porsche. So depending on what you're trying to do is how you design the policy. This puts you in control and helps the client understand too what you're trying to do, which is, as Phil said, take care of them and maximize the outcome for them. One last illustration I'm going to show you, and this is let's just go back into so I'm going to take a 58-year-old female who's maybe the husband passed away, maybe parents passed away. They've got a big pile of cash, and they said, you know what, I'm going to give this to the grandkids, and I'm sitting in a bank and an annuity. And you go, what if I could show you a way to take that 100,000 and turn it into 200,000 tax-free to your grandkids? Would you be interested? And they'd be like, yeah, I would be interested. So what we're going to do is a little different than what we did before. We're going to take 100,000. We are going to try the CVAT test, which just gives us the ability to put a little bit more money in. Like I said, we're only going to do it 1 year till she's 59. And I've run this before, so I know it's 200,000. Let me make sure I've got everything in. Right product, bang, 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 bang. I think this is it. I'm going to go do this. Let that spin and get down to page 21, 22. And it blew up. What did I do wrong? It's so smart to work just.
200,000 face with 100,000 premium. You're paying for how many years?
Just 1 year, 59. Option 1. Bear with me 1 second. I'm going to see if my cheat sheet's out here somewhere. No, that didn't work. It's option. You know what I'm going to do? Cheat. It'll make you sit there while I try to figure out what the heck I did. I'm going to go back to.
So your cooking show, you got one already done, right?
Yeah, I'll show you the one I did earlier. There's a trick to it. This is supposed to teach you something, and I just messed up. Same thing, option 1, 200,000, 100,000 going in. See that. This one should, we're just going to jump over here real quick and make sure. Yeah, there it is. I dropped 100,000 in. Bear with. Don't look. Close your eyes.
Oh, I guess while you're pulling that up, there was a question on thoughts on making a policy versus an annuity. What do you think? I have my own reservations for that, but just curious your thoughts.
So no, excellent thought. And that's what I missed. That's what I missed. Let's go back here and I'll show you. So we took off the prevent MEC. That was the one thing I didn't do on that other. I forgot that last piece, prevent MEC, because it's going to be taxed like an annuity if you take the money out, but the death benefit stays tax-free. So again, it's using the right design for the right client. If they only want to use this for transferring the money to the next generation through the death benefit that is tax-free, then that's where you get what you got. So I'm going to show you 2 bites of the apple. Here's the first, here's my 100,000, here's my 200,000. It does grow over time, depending on, you know, she gets to age 80, my 100,000 turned into 355. So she almost, you know, 2.5 times what she was going to have, and decent cash value. Where what I focus on in the cash value, because being a mech, if you pull the money out, you're going to get taxed on the growth. But remember, the living benefits can come out tax-free. And even in a mech situation, the client's going to come out ahead. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to tweak one thing. This was the piece that we teased at the beginning. We have an enhanced cash value rider that's going to get this thing goosed way up to about 96% of what goes in. It shows up in cash. So when you take Mrs. Wiggins' money from the bank or the annuity, she gets her money back pretty quick, continues to grow, doesn't affect your commissions. It stays the same. You're still paid on this piece. The other nice thing about this is I use the Index Explorer Now product. If they're healthy enough, we're getting these things. This is rapid issue. No, it's up to age 60. We can do this up to 250, above age 50. What we did was we turned a fully underwritten product into a rapid issue. So no exam, no blood. We've been getting these done in about 2 or 3 days. You get an approval. So for folks that are used to annuities, this has got about as painless of underwriting process as you can pull together. You can turn the 100,000 instead of just rolling it over into another annuity. You roll it over here, and you make a good piece out of that. You give the client a much better deal because their 100,000 turns into 2 and keeps growing. It's tax-free. They've got living benefits. So that's my story.
I was gonna say with that too, there's you know, to overemphasize early cash value riders with every carrier that I know of, except for Columbus, stretches your commission over 5 years or 4 to 7, depending on the carrier. But in this case, as long as the policy stays in effect or enforced for 5 years or more, you know, there's no impact. You get your commission up front, no chargebacks, so on and so forth. So Columbus is the carrier that is going above and beyond to you as agents to provide you with the value and benefit you deserve, almost like a career shop, just you still have that beauty of independence. So I think that's a really cool gift, if you will, to the agent, as well as the huge benefit for the client for what they need it for. So for those who missed the last presentation, when we were talking about this in depth with the PDA. So let's say, for example's sake, or let's say, for example's sake, this is a PDA, so it's not a mech, and you have someone who's usually in the real estate industry. You have $100,000 that you put into this, and you always hear the whole bank on yourself thing. Well, in year 1, you have $96,000 you can borrow against for whatever you need to borrow against it for, still not impacting that, you know, commission chargeback or anything like that, because it's a loan, it's not a surrendering of the policy. So flexibility and availability is a great story for this product, and you have it right here. If someone, you thinking, once again, real estate people who want to dump in a large amount in the first year or so, and can you do a PDA and annual or monthly premiums too?
PDA turns it into a annual premium, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but you throw the dollar cost average on top of it, and then it turns it
Yep.
into monthly buckets.
Okay. Okay. I just didn't know if someone could throw in like 100,000 into the
Oh,
PDA and then
and throw money.
also,
Yes, yes. Sorry. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can
it's
do it.
awesome.
Yep. Yeah, you could let the big chunk of money grow cash. Meanwhile, you're funding the policy at some other level just to.
It still won't make it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's a huge that's a huge win. From thinking about that. So, Agents On, you got I know looking at who's on, I know some of you guys have clients like this that could really take advantage of that. And so um I'll shut up, but there were a couple things. So we had a couple questions. Elaborate a little bit on the index options.
Yeah. Let's
And
let's
you
do
know,
that. I'll show you page 13 of the illustrations. A pretty. I mean, I can send you brochures. There's stuff on the website, and I'm happy
yep.
to include. But just to give you a quick, we go down to.
And it's not showing the illustration yet, so just an FYI.
Oh yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
Who should-
We're a regular Laurel and Hardy here.
Yeah. Don't trust me. All right. So okay. So there's three index options. There's technically a fourth, but there's a capped annual point to point, which is the one we use most often. It's the one that's in the illustration that's showing 6.21 with a 10% cap. Guaranteed is 3. There's the current cap. I've got two uncapped strategies. Unfortunately, they're out of favor. The the spread option, a lot of times you see a spread that says, okay, you've got to get over the hurdle rate, which is 4, 5, or 6%, and then you can have everything uncapped above that. That's fine, but if the market normally averages 7, you're going to spend a lot of time not earning anything and only getting those spikes. What Columbus did was said, all right, we're going to make the bottom, small, and then we're going to give you what's in the middle, and then we'll take everything on the top. Unfortunately, when they rolled this out, it was 8 and 4. So the company kept 4. They gave you they gave you the bottom 4. They gave you the bottom 4. They kept the next 8, and they give you everything above what was 8 and 4 is 12. Phil, the other day I found an illustration we were doing back there when it was 8 and 4. The lifetime was over 10%. I mean, it was just crazy. We couldn't keep that product on the shelf. It was flying out the door. Well, cap rates have been under pressure, in part because of option prices. This is a complicated strategy because it's 2 option sales. And so you can see it's really not that good. This one isn't bad. And when you look at down here, there are times when this is the winning strategy, and the monthly average says, I'm going to compare the first of the month to the end of the month, calculate a loss or gain. I'm going to do that 12 times and average it, and you're going to get the average. Well, oftentimes this looks good when the market is super volatile, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. You catch enough of the ups spread out over 12 months that you win. But again, historically, long time, over time, this one tends to be the one that wins out, because we go back up here and you say, since inception, this is 627, this is 4, and this is 1.95. So far, I hope that answers your question. I can go in more detail. We can grab some brochures, but I wanted to make sure you saw that because it's right here in the illustration. And there's
Sell the
explanations
S&P.
right up here too.
Yeah.
Count
Just
option.
sell the cap, S&P cap. It's plain vanilla, simple, easy to explain. Everyone knows the S&P,
100%.
and 10% is a solid number, especially when they like the illustration at 6.21. Then they would love it if you got an average of 8, 9%. So I would say for the most part, the other ones, much like Jeff kind of alluded to, are a little complex, or not valuable. So I think from the value proposition standpoint, the S&P capped at 10% makes the most sense and easiest to explain to your client.
100%. I mean, you heard my yammering deal. Imagine boiling that down for a client. I went through a presentation some years ago, and a guy got all the way to the end. He said, "Okay, I liked all that. I just have one question. What do I tell my client?" It was like, yeah, you don't want to take the client down that crazy road. There are ways if you get somebody that's really sharp on the uncapped stuff, but it's really not in their favor typically. I see the next one. Does it cover critical illness? Yes, we have 8 listed: cancer, heart, transplants, stroke, all sorts of conditions. All you have to have is a note from the doctor that says if this isn't treated, they're not going to make it, and it opens the floodgates and there's money. So you have critical, you have chronic, which is long-term care, sick to the 6 ADLs plus cognitive, and terminal illness. I'm not going, client's not going to make it 12 months. Turns that piece on. So it's out there. And it was on that illustration. We may not have seen it. And then can you print? Yes. Can you print in the report section right here? Down towards the bottom, it says supplemental expenses right there. And when you go here and run an illustration, it'll show that report, and you can see those. Now, hang on, I baked you out again. Okay, here's the illustration, the reports right there's the expense pages starting right there. And you can see our expenses don't go forever, and they're pretty low. That's what drives the performance of this policy. And here's the living benefits, and we call it specified disease, critical illness, same kind of thing.
Those load charges, I saw that 100,000 was about seven grand. What's the max load charges you can do?
7%. Max.
So yeah, so for other carriers that we look at, just an FYI, one that I know I used to work with had a load charge that could go all the way up to 18%. So we want to make sure that when we're looking again, it's not always about the pretty illustration, because it reminds you of the Wizard of Oz. You got the big green face saying pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. I like to make sure that when we're talking about this stuff with our client, they know what's behind the curtain, because this is a 20, 30, 40-year product that they're purchasing, and we want to make sure that it's in the right interest of the client too. So all of that stuff is on the table. You should know that. You should know what you're selling before you sell it. And I think it's very important, especially when, like I said in the beginning of this presentation, this is a plain vanilla product, but plain vanilla is actually good when you have such a complex idea of an IUL. It's always nice to be simple and understanding. So
just a couple of things to wrap up on. This is kind of a recap from what we did last time. Compensation is good targets, rolling targets, excess commission paid. We pay renewals and all that out 12 years. We have a deferred comp program. We have trail compensation, which means all that giant cash that we were building in those policies, you're paid on that money too, starting in year 2 and going as long as the policy's in force. And if you something happens to you, we're sending it to your beneficiary. So it really adds up to a great thing. We have 2 conferences that we do every year. Sometimes they're to different locations. This one next year happened to be, they're just extended. So you get 7 days in the Bahamas if you win the big trip. This is the one that Phil and I put together. It's a great way to get comfortable with the company. It's just, like anything, it takes practice. And so what we recognize is you've got a company that you're comfortable with. You kind of know the drill. We're paying you in advance or paying you in arrears to take time and learn the Columbus illustration, the app process, work with Jennifer and I to get yourself acclimated to that. So low cost, $15,000 annualized pay premium through August 30th. We'll go up to the home office. We'll meet senior management. We'll take some training, have a nice meal. We'll go to a Reds baseball game. And Columbus is picking up the airfare and the hotel and the baseball. So should be a great time. So keep this in mind. This is important. This is going to be a fun trip. Did it last year with a couple of groups. Phil came up with us once. And then there's the magic number. Call me, call the sales desk. We want to help answer all the questions that you might be having or things that come up or how do I do? What do I do? So Phil, I have wrapped it.
Well, I appreciate that. I was gonna say, real quick, if you want, I'll just grab the screen back and share,
Yeah,
real
yeah.
quick how to do it on WinFlex. Sorry, let's see a little
That
fan.
looks like fun.
So, yeah, just quick talking points in case you popped in a little late or fell asleep. Joking, of course. When you look at this product, 3 table shades. So, substandard risk class, move them up to standard risk class, table A, B, or C. And on top of that, some of the things that he mentioned on there too, the deferred comp plans, the additional trails, I guess you could say, on cash that grows. They're the only carrier in the industry that give you trails on money past that first 10 years. Matter of fact, they do not renewals, but yeah, renewals, right? Up to 12 years. So a lot of carriers don't do that. So they give you additional incentives to partner with them that you don't see that make you want to retain the policies. Because let's be honest, people in the industry sometimes forget about their clients because they're not getting anything off of them anymore. Well, Columbus incentivizes you with little trails or renewal trails on the cash growth, which is not seen really in the market, and that once again helps you retain those clients and wants you to keep that relationship up, versus, oh, I already got my commission, they're on their own kind of thing. We don't want that. So to answer Juan's question here, just to see this on WinFlex, because a lot of us use WinFlex. So we'll just say Phil Resch, Tennessee, 12/22/1981, which is legit. Get to turn the old 4-2 tomorrow. I'm just gonna say, we'll joke and say I'm preferred. Solve for. So if you want to show income here, we're gonna solve for face amount. We're gonna do the minimum face. And then the amount we're gonna do, let's just say 12,000 a year for 15 years. Nothing after. Okay. So far, so good. Now solve your age. I'm going to say max. And let's see, we're not going to do any PDAs here. Real basic disbursements. Solve for. We want to change this all the way out to 64. Nothing. 0. 85. And then 0 here. So once again, face amount, minimum face, 12,000 a year for 15 years. Solve your age, or you could say policy year, just say max, keep it as simple as possible. Options, we want to do increasing for those 15 years. And then level after, I'm doing annual pay. Interest rate, it's already put in the capped account, so you don't really have to change that. Now, if you guys know, I've always talked about diversification. In this one, I'm not really talking about diversification because it's very easy to just do the point to point with the S&P. Riders, you got the riders here. Accelerated death benefit. I can do enhanced cash value and hit calculate. This should illustrate it appropriately. So we'll just see here. And Jeff, I know your software is probably a little bit more intuitive, but for us in the running several carriers at one time, this can help out and make it a little easier. But
Yeah,
I do
especially when
agree.
you're first starting out and trying to figure out what where best to go, what to do. Absolutely.
Oh, and you guys are age current,
Yeah,
so even though I'm,
we're age
yep,
last. So you're
yep,
41 until tomorrow plus we
tomorrow.
can backdate.
So that's actually, and you can backdate. That's actually really good. I didn't even think of that. So, 206 cash value growth. Let's see if I did it right in the first shot. Two, ramp growing. Yep, 37,648. So 12,000, 15 years. Start income at 65, 37,648. Goes all the way out to 85, and you still got a little death benefit left. Yeah. Yeah. One, if you could just stay back, I'll help you put in an application. Yeah, right now. The salesman over here telling me to lock in the age 41. Classy guy. Um, so just so you guys see how I kind of talked to about the buffered, if you copy here and you go to solve for it, if you do a no solve, we already know the face amount is 206, which is the lowest. If you want to keep 12,000, and just say let's do 350,000. So I increased by about 150. Everything else has really stayed the same because all I did was change the face amount. So we had 37 grand with the 206. I think it was 206.
Yep.
So if we increase the face amount, what does that do? And then ultimately, from that standpoint, what's the conversation with the client? So first off, you already have the idea here that you have an increase in death benefit. Okay, so in case something happens, there's an increase in death benefit. Let's just compare here real quick once again on a few key topics. I know I'm going into overtime, Jeff. I'm sorry.
You're
I
fine.
just
No, I'm
get,
impressed. Your people are hanging with you. So
yeah,
good
they're
job there.
they're probably asleep. Um, where do you see target?
Bottom right hand
Target.
corner, 3327.
Okay, so
Yeah.
target there is 3327, bring about 37,000 in income. So we do 350,000. So it's FD, huh? What does that stand for?
Field division. Mine's HD, home office division.
That's funny. All right, so now you get 5635. So you're getting about 2,000 more in comp. Did I mess something up? No income? Hmm. Oh well. We're already over. I don't want to over stress it because I'll sit here and futz around with it. It's gonna drive me nuts though. So, but in any event, just an opportunity. You can do it on WinFlex as well.
Yes.
But yeah, but either way, like I said before, when you're going to submit the business, we want to do it through the 3Mark site. That way, Karen or Sandra can follow through. The total to get to our contest is not that much. So if you think about it, that's three $5,000 target cases. And when you deal in the IUL space, that's pretty easy to get to. You got 4 months to do it. If you do the Index Explorer Plus now or Index Explorer now, you'll get them done quicker as well. What are the parameters for that, Jeff? What age, what face amount?
Oh, for which part I missed it?
The now.
Oh, it's 18 to age 60. Up to age 50, it's $1 million. Up to age 60, it's 250. No exam, no labs. Underwriting 2 or 3 days. Policy issued 3 or 4 days. Out the door.
So if you don't think they have any health issues, they want to get in and out the door, that would be the way to go. So we cleared all the questions. We've hit overtime. So what I'd say is thank you guys. Happy holidays, Jeff. Thank you for spending some extra time here
Of course.
at the dinner hour, and look forward to having a great start to 2024. Thank you guys, and we'll talk soon.